state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Koberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It is a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. It is a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. It is a dense population of mostly college-related occupants.
Johnny went down into hell one night, he was hunting for the devil's throne. He beat around his name too long, figured he'd claim his own. The flames were licking the cavern walls, the air was thick with sin. But he grinned and tuned his fiddle tight, said, devil, let's begin. He laughed and said, you're foolish, son, you'll burn before you win. But he rousing up that bow and said, we'll see who melts in sin. I ain't afraid of fire or brimstone, you can damn me if I lose, but I'm the best that's ever lived, old boy, so go on, light that fuse. Johnny was a hillbilly redneck, meaner than a dog on meth. He said, I beat every fiddle of breathing, ain't none left on earth worth a test. So he loaded up his moonshine and he swore one drunken yell, if the devil's still picking, I'll find his ass, I'm heading straight to hell. And Johnny went down to hell, he wasn't running scared, said, I came to take your fiddle, boy, if you still got one spare. The devil grinned and said, hot damn, I've waited for this day, but I ain't playing country tunes down here, we melt the strings away. The gate swung wide, the brimstone popped, and demons poured like beer. The devil stood there smiling with a gobo slick and clear. Boy, you talk big for a mortal man, but my fire's burned for years. Johnny spit and grinned, I'll smoke your ass and drink your flaming tears. Johnny went down to hell, he wasn't running scared, said, I came to take your fiddle, boy, if you still got one spare. The devil grinned and said, hot damn, I waited for this day, but I ain't playing country tunes down here, we melt the strings away. The devil drew his bow across, the pit began to roar. The walls of hell were shaking like a diesel engine's core. But Johnny's fire was meaner still, and that fiddle screamed pure sin. He bent the notes till angels cried and the devil's flame grew thin. Smoke rolled up from Johnny's strings, ashes on his boots. He said, hell's just another honky-tonk and I'm the king of roots. The devil dropped that golden bow and kicked it through the flame. Johnny took it, tipped his hat, said, now you know my name. Johnny went down to hell, and he played that fire clean. Left the devil staring, dumbstruck in the glow of gasoline. He said, keep your crown and kingdom, I just came to raise some hell. You'll hear my fiddle ringing from the hollers down in hell.
Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me.
Searching for a full future ride, under surveillance, nowhere to hide. Influence creeps like blood on the floor. Fine line between peace and war. From campus to crypt, the script looks tragic, mystic and twisted. Magic turn manic, walk through lingers, but the echo remains. Chains of the slain in eternal pain.
And here we go.
Welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
My bad. I didn't add myself to the stage. What's going on, Hive? Great to see you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have an awesome stream lined up for you tonight, especially if you believe that Miss Dylan and Miss Bethany might not be telling the truth. I got the audio coming in loud and clear, and it's going to be one of those nights where I really, really hope that people can have, an adult conversation. People can listen to the hard questions that I'm about to ask, because we have two people that lived. One of them saw him. They heard the screams. We heard the screams. They didn't really run or hide, other than they locked themselves in the door or locked themselves in their room and they went back to bed. They made calls, but not to 911. They had time, a lot of time. They had time to think. They had time to move, time to clean, time to delete. But you're not supposed to question them. No, you're supposed to believe that it was the guy across the state lines who's got no connection to them or their families or anybody in that house for that matter. He left no DNA inside of that house, no blood in his car, no blood in his apartment, doesn't have a violent criminal record. He doesn't even have a motive. They never found the murder weapon. And he pulled off a professional hit in the dark in a house that had 5 cars in the driveway, and he's never been inside of before. So that's your final warning. That's a very clear, what do you want to call that? Foreshadow to how this stream's going to be. So if you can't handle that, if you can't handle the truth, I would suggest scrolling away now, because I'm about to go scorched fucking earth tonight on this. I really am. We need answers. They have answers. Why aren't they talking? This could be so clear cut and dry. And the two people that lived aren't saying anything. Have they said anything that's helpful? Trust me, by the way, I'm going to give this disclaimer, not my normal disclaimer about this being a contrarian thinking live stream where we think past the headlines. No, I'm just going to give a disclaimer on, we are all adults. And if at any point you start getting offended on behalf of Dylan or Bethany, I would challenge you to put yourselves in the shoes of an honest victim's family. And you had to sit there and listen to what they said in the interviews and laugh with the investigators 4 days later as your son or daughter was being murdered. And they waited 8 hours. They called their friends. They didn't do shit. So before you get pissed at me, let's just address, there is not a single lie told right there. That all happened. Nobody wants to talk about it, though. But we need to. Because I don't understand how two people inside of the house where this giant mystery has unfolded, how do they not talk? At all. How do they not talk about who they think might have done it? How do they not talk about anything and everything possible? Pretty much, they were the worst eyewitnesses of all time. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, I'm your host, Birdie. I go live weeknights at 7 p.m. Central. This is a contrarian thinking live stream. So if you couldn't tell by the intro, as I was saying, we think past the headlines. We question the narrative. We ask the tough questions. So if you are easily rattled or if you are offended on behalf of others, you're not going to like this stream. You're probably going to hate me. You're going to probably talk smack in the chat, but that's all right because we have the best mods on YouTube here in the Hive. We have formerly known as Beck, Discord Dawn, UFO Dog, and Luna Bliss. They are going to give you enough leash to hang yourself as long as you're not trolling, spamming, or threatening. Disagree with me. Make your point. And again, this entire am I back? I don't know why it keeps glitching out. It's so frustrating. Just ruins the flow, but I've been doing this long enough with having to deal with the freezing that we can come right back from it. So it's all good. For the third time's the charm. The last few streams, I've been talking about this WSU lawsuit. I've been talking about the bigger picture, not necessarily these intricate details of when the screams happened and what car was there and all this other stuff. I'm talking about the bigger picture. The reason why is because we've never addressed the bigger picture. We've never really had full-on conversations about the bigger picture being this narrative. I've said, again, the last few streams, it's weird. Brian Koberger goes out to WSU in the middle of an NIJ fund to WSU for essentially predictive criminal behavior into lone wolf actors and emerging adults outside of the classroom. Then we have all of this happen. And after the fact, we have the families suing WSU for not predicting this crime. So that's at a high level. In addition to that analysis or synopsis, whatever word you want to use for it, at that same high level, it's like we kind of forgot about the fact, oh my God, there was 2 people that were in the house at that time. 2 people that were amongst the same friend groups, 2 people that were awake, 2 people that knew what happened. And nobody's saying anything. So as you guys are filing in, if you guys could please hit that like button, hit subscribe. That's the best way to support this stream, support this channel. If you screenshot this and you tap the QR code after the live, that'll take you to all of the Hive's links. That'll bring up my TikTok. It'll bring up the Discord. It'll bring up HiveMindStore.com. And all of my streams are free. So again, just liking and hitting subscribe, things that are completely free, really are the best way to help this channel grow and to continue to spread the word to people who are just done with living in a smoke and mirrors type of world. I do have a handful of questions. Okay. We're going to move somewhat at a rapid pace, but I hope people that are caught up and are live will do their best to answer these as the best that they can. And here is the first question. If you were a young 20s female and you saw a masked man in your house and saw your roommate scream and run up the stairs, then run down the stairs, what would you do first? Would you call 911 or would you call your friends? Answer it honestly. What would you guys do? I'm trying to not be sarcastic. I just want to get an honest evaluation of people in the chat. Calling the police, immediately call 911. Gurmilla said, call my boyfriend. Calling 911, calling 911, 911, 911, 911, 911, 911, 911. Both. Okay. Kathy said I'd run out. Lenny Mom said you'd call your friends first. You'd go to my friend's room and check it out. You'd immediately call 911. 911. You guys understand that you're coming face to face with a dude in a ski mask, right? You heard crying. You heard someone screaming. Your other roommate thought they heard a firecracker. Dude, I'd be calling the cops so effing fast. Even as a man, I'd call the cops so fast. If I came face to face with a dude in a mask, in a mask, after hearing people in my house, I'm calling the cops. Even if I'm gonna go then talk to my roommate, if I'm gonna then call my friends, I'm calling the police immediately. It's like a survival trait. If somebody's in your house with a weapon and I don't have a weapon, what's the first thing that I do? I'm gonna call people with weapons to come and protect me. Okay, the next question that I have. Why? So right after that, why did the law enforcement claim that the surviving roommates were not suspects before autopsies were done or released? It's another good question. Well, that's a great point, Chevy Metal. So I got to keep that thing on you. He said, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. Amen. UFO Dog says just the narrative. Crud Dog Music says cover up. No idea is what J-Ro in Texas said. UK Karen says involved. Tara says because it's BS. Tilted Halo. Oh, where'd that go? Tilted Halo says easy. It's because they knew. Jeep Guy says it's all about the money. Lisa asked me to repeat it, so I will. So why would law enforcement say that the surviving roommates are not suspects before autopsies were ever done or conducted or publicly released? Why are they never considered suspects? Lily says who their family is. Poetic Justice says they made a deal with them to follow the narrative. Oil Can Sally says they already knew. Laura says orders from above. Whoa, Brooke. Good to see you. Says informant. Original Miss Martin says off the rip, they had to control the narrative. Beautiful disaster cover up. Or they knew who it was. Edie says they had gone over it at all hours prior to the call. I'm asking these questions, and I promise you, those answers are the same answers that I would give. But can we be honest with ourselves here? Are any of those answers good enough? Are those answers strong enough to force the truth out? I don't think they are. I really don't. If anybody can give an answer for motive, continued cover up, and continued silence, I'm all ears. Somebody actually Jenna just said they were ignored. That's interesting. But then you listen to their, but then if you were to listen to what they say, they're not really saying much of anything either. Again, we have to take the authorities' word for it that this is all legitimate. All right. The next question for the Hive is what happened inside of that house. So what happened inside of 1122 King Road in those 8 hours prior to the police arriving? Do you think everything was touched, moved, and cleaned? Or do you think everything was left as is? And I'm going to address the obvious answer of, well, Ann Taylor said that there was a cleanup. So I'm asking, though, from like the roommate's perspective, if they were going to move something or clean something, what do you think it was? Monica, clean up. Yep. J Rose says get rid of the drugs. Monica says the floor and the walls. Yeah, and I understand that, to Justin's point, it's probably hard to type this out quickly on your phone, but do your best, guys, because this is important. This is important that people get to see. It's not just Birdie up here. This is a collective group that is there. We're on to them. We're on to it. Monkey Lady says they waited for Molly. Vixie Blaze says the weapon was gone. So maybe I'm going to segue off that and say, meaning that they made sure the weapon was gone. Shannon Malini says clean up and rehearse their stories. Staged and cleaned up. Daily Twin Flame. Disable Me says fingerprints, footprints, and hair. Exploring Everything says the kitchen for sure. Jesse P says they're even painting. Okay, next question. Those were all great answers. And this is the last question before I get into my point. Why would you sue WSU prior to any real interrogation going public of the two roommates inside the house on the night of the crime? I'll say that again. Why are you suing? And outside of deep pockets, okay, because I'm going to challenge people. Outside of money, why even consider a lawsuit prior to the two surviving roommates being publicly interrogated? Disable Me says to take the focus off of what everyone's finding out. Liz Beer says to force the truth. More information is what Germilla says. Daily Twin Flame says they won't sue their own. Debbie says they're greedy. They probably know who really did it. Yeah, the J Row in Texas says bigger bank. Yep. Tara, that's what my thought was. It just at a broad level is to switch the blame onto somebody else, not just criminally, but also in the narrative. Jenna Baum says involvement, again, to distract us. Shed Evil says shift blame. Original Miss Martin says to get more truth out, they didn't get justice. Poetic Justice says distraction. I'll give you the goat for that one, because I do not disagree with that. Tilted Halo Detective says payoff, laundering money. Sweet Psychotic 420, amen to this. It's they say, I honestly don't know, and it's maddening. It's so maddening. Susan, I just missed your comment, but you said, look here, not there. Yeah. You guys all have very similar answers to what I would say. Now, I'm collecting my thoughts right now. I have the stress titty over here tonight, if that gives you any glimpse into just how maddening this whole aspect of the fact that there's an eyewitness that has been so shielded. And I don't know about you all. At this point, I don't give a damn whether or not like I do if she knows something that would be criminally intent, like if she had criminal intent. I just want to know the truth. It doesn't seem like she's telling an honest story. It doesn't seem I'll say it. It doesn't seem authentic. There's that initial heightened emotional awareness, and there's this stuff that happens on the internet when a whole big ass narrative gets pushed out, and you're shamed if you disagree. Many people in here have probably felt that. That phase is so long gone. It's so long gone, and it's just it's a stupid thing whenever it happens, but it's the reality. It does happen, and now that it's over with, and you look back at something, and your emotions aren't clouding your judgment, you look at this stuff and you say, okay, even if she's completely innocent of everything, what she's saying is not providing that much detail, again, publicly, to just be counted out. It's just, they're not suspects. They're not victims. Well, what the hell are they? Witnesses? So did they see it? Right? I don't understand it. We're trusting a speck of DNA on a knife sheath. We're trusting random trace DNA on a dude who's got no connection to the house, never followed them on social media, no connection to their families, no violent history, right? Wanted to be in law enforcement, was a PhD after overcoming a heroin addiction. And he's autistic with visual snow and dexterity issues, and the guy likes to run. But there's trace DNA on a knife sheath after not finding a murder weapon. We're going to trust that speck of DNA more than we trust two people that came or that were in that house, one of them coming face to face with the dude. It's ridiculous how hard I have to work to stay calm at saying that. How? Trace DNA is so sus. It's so unreliable. Don't take it from me. Take it from a lot of attorneys. And the fact that there's so much cover being ran for it, we have to ask the question, why? And so I have the theme tonight being complicit with an arrow pointed to the two roommates. The reason why I have that, again, criminally involved or not, it comes down to, why are you not more upset with the two girls that didn't call 911 for 8 hours? What if they were still alive? What if they would have called 911 immediately? They could have canvassed the area and caught the perps driving away. There could have been a suspicious vehicle driving. People that looked like they're not college students in that area, driving recklessly, looking suspicious, acting suspicious. But no. Nothing. And at this point, it's not just a cover-up. It's a story. Like, when I say a cover-up, or when I say it's not just a cover-up, really what I'm getting at is this. The truth is probably so far from what we think happened, it would shock us to learn it at this point. I really believe that. I really believe that, because the fact that the court documents go off of what those two said is a giant glaring red flag. The fact that there's grand jury, you have no answers with all this video and no answers with all these audio clips, no answers with all the redacted or unredacted documents. And Taylor's defense strategy, like I said last night, at what point is it not the best chess move of all time? And it's just, we're cooked. We don't know what they did. It's that manipulated. We can't even figure it out ourselves. Whether it be we prove there's not fog lamps, okay, well, then it's DNA. We prove that the DNA isn't his. Well, we can't check it because there's no chain of custody. Okay, so let's say they figure out the chain of custody. Well, let's go back to the eyewitnesses. It's bushy eyebrows. Well, what if it's not bushy eyebrows? Well, then it goes to what essentially we've seen happen, and it's trial by media. It's really actually not even a trial. There was a dude that got railroaded by the pressure to take the death penalty off of the table and settle with a plea deal. And he just so happens to be writing papers about it. Precisely that. Guilty pleas that lead to wrongful convictions. So you guys tell me, what the hell is going on? It's not just a cover-up. It's so much more than a cover-up. Cover-ups can be unpacked. This is a battle of the people being able to figure out the processes that the three-letter agencies do, real life do, not conspiracy. There's no way that college kids outsmart the entire country. There's no way that they outsmart the entire country from the jump. Oh, well, then the cops got to run cover for it. Okay, well, we got photos. We got 911 call. We got all the audio. We got all the video. No, and then that's manipulated. It's bigger than a cover-up. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what the word would be. And the chat beat me to it. I was about to say, I only know one other word. It's a 5-letter acronym. Doesn't mean that it's fake, by the way. That acronym PSYOP doesn't mean that it's fake. PSYOPs don't mean that people don't die. But it's a cover-up is me lying about when events happened. And then you go to the grub truck or you go to the corner club or you get my text messages or you interview people and you realize I tried to cover it up. But when you have the entire effing country run cover on it, all the way from WSU, University of Idaho, landlords, neighbors, friends, families, Othram, all the 3-letter agencies, Bill Thompson, Josh Hurwitz, Donald Trump's fucking tweeting about it. Excuse my language. We're not talking about a cover-up, guys. We're talking about a massive, massive event. Really. We are talking about something so much bigger that the truth would probably shock us. And it's not to say that the crime didn't happen. The crime is not the whole story. That's my point. That's the exclamation point on this intro rant, is that this is so much bigger than 1122 King Road. It's not to say it's not sad or horrific, but it's so much bigger than that. Otherwise, I would challenge anybody who disagrees with that to show me a case with this much surveillance, this much potential geofence data or cell phone data or DNA ability. Show me another case like this. This many documents, this many interviews. Somebody tell me how this crime was committed inside of 1122. What are you going to do? You're going to stick with what the news told you? Entered the sliding door, went upstairs, didn't wake anybody up, stabbed them in their sleep. Right? Left nothing but a latent footprint. No. We got to stop thinking so basic. We've tried basic. We've tried basic. And I want to address a handful of super chats that came in real quick. Thank you guys so much. As a reminder, any super chat over $4.99 will pop up right here. Same thing if you subscribe. MS8114 says, when the house was torn down, the police were there and looking for something, so something was hidden somewhere, but what? The house getting torn down in general is just wild to me, and I'm sure now the trolls are going to come out and say, no, it's not that wild, Bertie. Bertie, it's not wild at all. You're crazy. You're crazy if you think that it's wild. No, well, what about everything else? Gifted back to the university just to have them tear it down. Guys, there are houses on the market all the time that have had murders in them. They don't want it to become this tourist attraction. So you tear it down. Is there going to be a memorial that would then become a tourist attraction? Was it torn down because of chemicals that were dangerous to the jury? Or what? Why was it torn down? Pinchalicious, that's a funny username. Pinchalicious says, do we know what the IA investigation with Rosie was? Oh, this is Olipop Hater. Change your username. That's funny. As far as that investigation goes, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I don't know if anybody in the Hive does. Oh, yeah. And going back to that last super chat too, why was it buried? Why is there an NDA signed? You can't talk about it. But Pinchalicious, I really don't know. And Edie says the contract between the school and MPD, they were under contract to protect the school at all costs. Well, yeah, I mean, and I agree with that. The police department should be under contract to protect the school at all costs from crime, from corruption, from 4 kids being brutally stabbed, most likely by a criminal network or kids in a frat. You know what I mean? So I agree with that contract to protect them at all costs. And so again, thank you guys for those super chats. I really appreciate it. To continue this, the case and what this case is demanding at this point, it's not emotion anymore. And as I said, the phase of being emotional about this or saying, I'm a little bit nervous to say that it's weird that these 2 girls who are grown-ass adults didn't call 911 while 4 of their friends were stabbed in the beds. One of them saw the murderer. They called their friends beforehand. It took 8 hours. Yeah, like that phase of feeling bad about saying that, it's over. Right? That's like being afraid to say 9/11 was an inside job. The Las Vegas shooting was a bunch of bullshit. That Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag. JFK was killed by the CIA. Right? Like there's a phase where that's over with, and this happened rather quickly. That phase of being afraid to say, yeah, it's a little bit weird that these girls didn't do anything. And then you look at their behavior. It's weird. It's weird. That's all that I'm saying. It's so weird. Pinchalicious says, quote unquote, pinchy, because my fingers got ripped off, so I only have my thumb and my pointer on my right hand. The fire department came up with it, Anyways, Rosie and his wife got divorced after that. Holy shit. Okay, that is quite the super chat. And damn. Hopefully it wasn't too dangerous. Obviously, lucky whatever happened that you're here. And given that you only lost a couple fingers, I mean, that sucks terribly. So, but yeah, I did know that Rosie and his wife did get divorced after that. But geez, the fire department, after losing your fingers, gave you a nickname, Pinchy. Did that help loosen up the mood? And I'm not being a dick. I'm curious because I don't know how I would have reacted to that. But I think it's cool. You've leaned into it and Pinchlicious, and I hope that you start to like Olipop. So going back to not thinking with emotion, but thinking with logic. Not this media-driven hysteria, but actual evidence. That's the X factor. Well, okay, fine. Let's think with logic. Let's not have the media hysteria. Let's look at the evidence. And there's going to be some people that get offended by this, and I don't mean any offense. But does the evidence tell the full story at all? I don't think it does. You look at what they put out with the description of the car. Does anybody even know? Where did Brian Koberger park if that was him? Where did Brian Koberger park? Are we sure that he went through the sliding door? Did he tell us? No. Who cleaned up the blood? How is it possible that there was no blood on Brian Koberger? But meanwhile, while all that is considered evidence, you have two roommates who admit to hearing screams. One of them sees a flash and hears a firecracker. The other one says they saw a masked man. And they both waited 8 hours. What's more suspicious? The guy across the state line or the people that are already inside? It's just a question. And it's also really interesting too. And again, I'm just saying this with seeing the WSU lawsuit and seeing how artful, as Ron Funk, an attorney that I had on stream, said, this allegation is. It is interesting. Legally, nothing's happened to these roommates. No obstruction as far as like their delay to call 911, right? No negligent crime scene contamination, especially if anything was moved or altered or cleaned or, right? I mean, that's not just me shitting on them. That's a real thing. There's also this unconstitutional tunnel vision that you could probably include those two roommates in as far as an investigation goes. This confirmation bias that would completely have real grounds for suppressing evidence, given the way that it's all played out. There's also this giant absence of physical evidence. As I stated, there's only trace DNA. Most people know that. But seriously, the lack of the blood, the lack of the DNA in Koberger's apartment, in his car, there's no murder weapon. Really what we're looking at, everybody, this might be the first time that I've said it, but we've all probably certainly thought it. This suspect coming to life being Brian Koberger, it's a digital theory. It's not a criminal case. It's a digital theory. And that's what led to Brian Koberger. The pings, the color of his car, the make and the model of his car, what he studied, what he searched on the internet, trace DNA. It's insane. It's a digital theory. It's no better than any of us coming in here without having the unredacted documents, without knowing the full truth, and saying maybe somebody at Sigma Chi did it. Maybe there was somebody that was a part of the Aryan Knights did it. Maybe it was this person. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe it was because of drugs and them getting flushed. What did Maddie tell Adam? And then you stack this media manipulation and you count that as evidence. This media narrative is seen as evidence, and the scary part, what we should be terrified about, is that socially and publicly, we all accepted it. Not all of us. An overwhelming majority of us accepted it. And it's like, how many times can we fall for the news is bullshit? Well, they're just trying their best, Bertie. The news is just reporting on what they're told. Oh, you don't think they got real power? I can remember just a handful of years ago, everyone's walking the same damn direction in a grocery store with little arrows on the ground, standing 6 feet apart because we saw it on the media and saw it on the TV, and our news station told us to. And I'm not saying whether you agree with why or why not. It's just, that's what we got our information from. It holds real weight. It really does. It holds real weight on giant stuff like COVID, and it holds real weight down to the local level in your own community. And yeah, for all of our own sake, we have to start to see it. We can't let fear replace facts or instinct. And we got to stop letting authorities fall in love with theories instead of truth. Leave the theories to us. You, as the prosecutor, need to go get the damn truth. Every time. No exceptions. Find the truth. We'll do the theorizing. We'll send in tips that maybe you missed as we all dive into it on the internet. But you go find the truth and don't settle for anything less than that. Because when you do, and then you try to hide it, well, guess what happens? You're going to lose all credibility. You're going to piss a lot of people off. No one's ever going to believe you ever again. And it also makes us question what your motive is. Aren't you serving the public? Are you being paid off? It really starts to exasperate this giant problem in our society. And that's public defenders have way too much power over everyday people. And it's not to say that all prosecutors or all cops are bad. No. But sometimes these people really make the whole bunch look terrible. And they do it on such a scale that don't get mad at us for questioning you when your own colleagues made the public feel this way time and time again. When you then rely on fear of being shamed, fear of being called out, fear of anything that's going to get people to shut up, when you rely on that to replace facts, and you want to convict a man no blood on him in his car, in his apartment, no murder weapon, no credible witness ID from her own testimony saying she doesn't know what's real, doesn't know what's fake, no direct connection to the victims. When you want to go after that, all of us go on high effing alert, bro. That's what we do, Bill. We go on high alert. We're not internet conspiracy theorists. Like, we can flip a switch, we can theorize, but then we also have this survival instinct of like, holy shit, they can do this to anybody. They can do this to anybody. And it's theater. We watched theater, not justice. And don't get it twisted. I can say all of that, and people can agree, people can disagree, but here is a true fact that you'll never be able to argue with, and that we have in our favor, and what we have in our benefit, and that's this. The burden of proof is supposed to be on them. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. Hate it or love it, that's what this country is, being America, where the majority of us live. But you're innocent until you're proven guilty. And guess what? If you're guilty of sin, it's not hard to prove. When you have somebody with morals, somebody with discipline, somebody with a hard work ethic, somebody that the public feels confident in being the person in that position to go get it done, to do their job well. That's why they got elected. That's why they were chosen. So yeah, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. But if you did it, you bet your ass we feel great in this person finding the truth. And if there's one or two ways that it could have gone, well, doubt survives. That's the world that we live in. Again, hate it or love it. That's what we are supposed to have. And I saw Love and Other Habits said, logically, if we don't believe Dylan or BF in their account of the 4 a.m. timeline, the masked man, I'm here to help you, Murphy being home, then logically, we can't believe that they waited 8 hours or their wounds. When I read comments like that, it just makes me feel so, good that people think the way that I do. If we're going to say that this is BS and that's BS, why, like, how do we know what's real and what's not? How do we know what's a lie and what's not? We don't know these people. We don't. So that's a goated comment, Love and Other Habits. Thank you so much for the super chat. KS Jess and Art said that when the FBI said they weren't going to release anything about Brian, it changed your whole perception. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. The fact that they're telling people that are seeking truth and that are seeking justice that we're not going to release anything about it. Okay. Again, this is so much bigger than a cover-up. It's so much bigger than a cover-up. And I hope people are starting to wrap their head around it. And when I say this is so much bigger than a cover-up, type a 1 if you know what I mean. I'll put mine in the chat. And it's one of those things where it's like you have to. That's the only way that I know how to say it is. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know what it's called. I don't know what to call it. Because it's like a cover up is when something is hidden after the fact, right? Maybe somebody screwed up. Maybe they botched whatever. A fingerprint sample and they said this was legitimate, or maybe they botched an interrogation and they wrote down a report wrong. It's reactionary though. It's damage control. If this was just a cover up, really, excuse me, sorry about that. If this was just a cover up It would have been just a PR mistake. It would have been straightforward, sloppy policing. But really, what we're looking at is not damage control at all. And I'm going to say this again. This is really important for people to understand about the Idaho 4. We are not looking at damage control. We're looking at something that's far more dangerous, in my opinion. Okay? In my opinion, what I'm about to say next is so much more dangerous than just sloppy policing, a PR mistake, or damage control. And what we're dealing with here is a full-on narrative construction. It's a coordinated narrative framework. It's not just ignoring an 8-hour delay or ignoring the roommate's behavior or ignoring the lack of blood or motive or weapon or mocking the dude who might be innocent, which is just insane. I saw this from one of my mods. That's why I was about 5 minutes late instead of just maybe a couple minutes. But this is wild to me, everybody. Take a good hard look at this. What are you, fucking kidnapping Brian Koberger? Are you serious? And this to me makes no sense at all. Literally, I don't understand this. Can somebody actually in the chat make sense of why this is it? Because I don't know how this is normal. I'm serious. It's not normal, and it's not normal even if Koberger's the most guilty dude in the world. You know what I mean? This is relatively disturbing. And I'm not saying that because I'm sure someone's going to snap back and say, well, you know what's disturbing is that this guy killed their daughters. Yeah, it is disturbing. But you want to know what else is? It doesn't seem like the right guy's behind bars. Or at the minimum, not saying this is my opinion, that the only person is behind bars. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a Yellowstone reference. That's how I took it, was Yellowstone for Rip Wheeler. There has been this theme of ritualized, and I'm going to say that word. I don't know how else to describe it. There's been a theme of ritualized digital humiliation of somebody that hasn't even gone to a trial. They are still legally presumed innocent, waiting on that trial. They are still entitled to constitutional protections. And this isn't on 4chan. This isn't on Reddit. I mean, this is shared by a family's Facebook page. Now, again, you can say, oh, he pled. He's behind bars. But the tone is mocking, taunting. There's this triumphant feeling when you look at it, and it's like, if you know, you know. LOL, where's my banana? What? All right. I read that and it just gets me feeling some type of way, because similar to the roommates and that not being normal behavior, I'll say it, this is not normal behavior. Normal people who have lost a loved one in a brutal murder do not make memes mocking the man who never stood trial. They don't make memes mocking a man where if you take 8 hours out of your life and you look at the documents, you might have some doubt. I don't see how that's any part of mourning or healing. It's something else entirely. And I'll say it. I say it confidently, and I say it from somebody who I've gone through trauma. I've gone through grief. I've held family members' hands as they've passed. Thankfully, it hasn't been in a murder type way, but it's still extremely traumatic. And I know people who have gone through losing a loved one via murder or suicide or things like this. I've never seen this in my life, ever. I've never seen so much of this given timeline, given redactions, given the narrative, given Koberger writing papers about what's happening to him, given the fact that WSU had funding for looking into predicting the behavior of lone wolf actors in emerging adults outside of a classroom, just to have a family that's posting memes about bananas sue WSU for not predicting this behavior. Is this a fucking fever dream? Or is it psychological warfare? I'm speechless in a way. I really am. There's just this break from reality happening. Smick says, I'm going with option B, Bird. So not a fever dream and rather psychological warfare. Do you know what actually is something too that maybe doesn't get talked about enough with this case? Is it's creating a lasting and everlasting toxic, irreplaceable, you can't come back from it public environment. This amongst many other examples. So this is just in general, take the memes out of it. This is acceptable. This is what we as a society feel is acceptable. Let's get crazy here with the way that we think, and let's fluoridate ourselves. Let's breathe out of our mouths, and let's pretend that we just watched 100 hours of Nancy Grace and Ashley Banfield. Even if Brian did it, does anybody feel like this was done properly? Is this the standard that we're holding ourselves to? Where does it stop at this point? Seriously. Can we all be adults and stop allowing grief to shield criticism? The criticism to be better. The criticism to get the truth. The criticism to not be controlled. I don't know how else to say it. And I'm not, I never talk about the families ever. And I would argue even now, I'm talking about the bigger picture of it. But, dude, it's not even just this family, because there's people that will support that. Like, when I say support them, I'm saying they're just this behavior. And it expands outside of this case a ton. Could you imagine if Ann Taylor posted this exact image, but with Dylan or Bethany in that car seat? Let's think about that. That'd be national news in a second. It'd be labeled harassment. There'd be legal action. Coco Cash said 100 hours of Nancy Grace and Ashley Banfield. What did I do to deserve that? You're right. That's cruel and unusual punishment for sure. Really, at the end of the day, here's what I've realized looking into this case, which I've stepped back from I'm going to continue to go granular, but I've stepped back from staring at camera footage, listening to audio, doing all that as far as the stream goes, because I've felt like this piece of me has just been bottled up for so long, where really you start to ask, why is this happening? And I started asking myself that way more than I ever have. And it's a rather simple answer that kind of hit me square in the face. And it's an uncomfortable answer, but it's because our system is completely broken. We are fully submerged in an era where emotion overrides evidence or logic or facts. We have people making memes like that are involved in a national headline case that never went to trial, yet you would think it did. If you don't have a brain, you'd be like, this is the most guilty guy of all time, and he's not. And anybody who questions it is real life the enemy. Like, you're not just labeled the enemy. You're like real life the enemy. Real harassment, real smear campaigns. And none of this feels like an accident. I really think that's just what's really getting to me the last few nights, is that none of this feels like an accident. None of this feels coincidental. None of this feels by chance or organic. This doesn't just seem like coping or grief. This seems like, I can't even believe I'm going to say this. Actually, I can, but it feels crazy to say this to, a group of people online. But I'm telling you the truth right now. My soul tells me this feels like intentional emotional programming. It feels so intentional. It feels like it's meant to cement guilt before a trial. You're supposed to condition the public into believing anything that the news says. You're supposed to prevent real questions from being asked, especially about suspicious aspects of it. Being surviving roommates, 8-hour delay, the evidence, the DNA, the murder weapon, the motive, the connection, anything. It's not even grief that people are questioning. It's just like, it's the death of due process and critical thinking combined. Emotional intelligence, RIP. It's really what it feels like. And I'm glad to see people in the chat, feel this same way. We all know this isn't just about defending Brian Koberger either. That's how I know too. If people tune in, or if they tune in regularly, they're going to know this isn't just about Brian Koberger. It's about defending a system that will work for us, work for all of us, not just some of us, all of us. Okay, so that's my spiel for the night. Now I'm gonna dive into the chat here, and I'm gonna look at what you guys are saying. Rushin Bergen intestines. Sorry if I butchered that. The fact that opinions are viewed as accusations is crazy making. It's all crazy making. Gaslight Nation. Well said. Absolutely. 111322 says abort the mission. There is too much collateral damage. There's no ROI, and innocent people in the public have suffered. Stacy Jane says it's actually kind of a good thing that our eyes are open to see all the corruption in the world and hopefully maybe make a difference by exposing it. Great comment. Absolutely. Bo Barrel says it was a massacre. Why aren't there more fighting for the truth? Where are the brave men and women, defendant lawyers who want to see justice? Cowards everywhere, it seems. Sarah says it's like an online version of COVID compliance. Hangman Jake says, we only got 460 likes. We got almost 1,000 in here. Let's go ahead and hit that like button. Take 2 seconds. Just swipe down on the chat, guys, please. That's all that I ask. It really does help the channel out, and it's free. Thumper says, is this a test for us Americans? This could happen to any of us, and no one with authority gives a crap. Smick says, gotta watch Candace today. She's connecting Charlie Kirk assassination to a Satanist ritual killing. Been trying to find the connection. It might be it. I haven't really watched any of that. I'm going to be honest. I haven't. Not that I'm not interested in it. I just haven't had time. Vixie Blaze, you know what? And let me give a shout out. Let me read this first, though. But 30 years ago, we may have believed it. Thank you, Internet. And not only is that a goated comment, but I'm going to give the GOAT award to anybody that grew up in their life that was awake to it, that red pilled themselves and read between the lines prior to the internet. I cannot imagine how hard that would have been. When you only had the big three for your news, if you were able to see through it, and if you were able to call out the BS and feel something in your gut and say, no, I don't agree with that, and I think that you're lying to me, and you were able to red pill yourself prior to the internet, kudos to you. I cannot imagine how difficult that must have been, and it's impressive. The other part that I'm going to say to the back half of this comment is thank you to the internet. Yeah. For as wild and as crazy as the internet is, it's one of the biggest blessings when it comes to the freedom of us having the ability to connect in real time. These evil, corrupt, psycho MFs at the top that think they can just have their way with us, they never expected the internet. They never expected people to upload old footage that can be spread in real time. We don't need the news anymore. Everyone's got a damn phone in their hand. We can see it from them from the point of view that they're in. We get it directly from the source now. And that they never expected. That's why the system's crumbling. And the more people that accept that and they understand it and they realize that it doesn't have to be some dude in a suit or some lady in a nice dress at 8 p.m. on your TV for the truth, and you can get it from everyday people that give a shit, that relate more to you than they ever will, that's when we're really going to make a massive difference in what these people can get away with and what they can't. Spacey says, thank you, Bertie. You're not just helping this case, but all the other ones they have planned. Amen to that. And it's not just me. It's all you guys too. Seriously. I wouldn't want to mess with the Hive. Seriously, we have so much talent and ability to critical thinking here. There are people that they'll post stuff in the Discord or they'll leave comments, and I'm seriously mind blown in the best way. Let's see what else. Kristen says, my brother already thinks I'm crazy because I don't believe SP pulled off when he is accused of pulling off. Oh, in Vegas. Oh, this is about the Vegas shooting. And this is coming from a lifer from Vegas. Nothing to lose, believing in BK's innocence. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. Don't get me started on the Vegas shooting. And we're overdue for a stream about that type of stuff. We are. I've seen a lot of people leave comments about it, talk about it. It's coming. We're going to do it. And I just got a lot of stuff with work and my day job coming up in this first month of the year. And then after that, yeah, we'll really dive into stuff like that. Richie Rich 2713 says, since Brian is not fighting for himself, that's when I kind of slowed down in trying to put the puzzle all together, when he probably is not saying one word or giving an interview or writing a book. Not just him, Richie, but what about Ann Taylor? What about the defense team? Where's this PR movement? Offline JJ. Wow. This is an interesting comment. I have my dad to thank for this. I'm assuming about being red pilled, because he came home on 9/11 from working in DC and he said, quote, they shot that plane down. Oof. That's wild. This comment. Original Miss Martin said, I've fought with my dad since I've been 15 years old about the moon landing. Brandon said, the internet kind of got out of their hands. Good. Fuck them. I agree. 1984, read it, is what Liz says. Jenna Bomb says they never expected us to care. Carmilla says, smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Hey man, Jake said that I grew up internetless. I got I mean, the majority of my younger childhood, yes. Like pretty much all of the back half of middle. I didn't get my first phone until I was in 8th grade. And then I had like limited text and there was no iPhones back then. I mean, I don't think iPhones really became a thing for a handful of years. And that would have been mid 2000s. I remember having like the Motorola Razor. You were the shit if you had a Razor. Mary Holt says, real people on the ground report the true facts in real time. Facts. Amen to that. Tinfoil Hat Claire says that's why they try to shut down so many and restrict online things. They don't want the truth to get out about what they're doing. Okay. Before I read Kimberly's comment, my little sister, I went over to my mom's house to celebrate Mrs. Birdie's birthday a week early because I'll be out of town this weekend for work. So there might not be a stream on Friday and Saturday. I might do like a premiere one of those days. I'm going to be in meetings literally 24/7. It feels like this weekend. So I might not have time to stream Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just a heads up, and I'll post about that. But we went over to watch the Packers, unfortunately lose to the Bears, and I don't want to talk about it. However, my little sister, we were talking about the stream and some things that she thinks about this case. And she said, have you seen the new series on Netflix? It's called 11/22/63. I said, no. What is that about? Well, it's about the JFK assassination. And it's about a time traveler that goes back in time. It's about this. It's Franco, James Franco, I believe is the Franco brother. And he has to go back in time and prevent JFK from getting assassinated. He has to live below Lee Harvey Oswald. And dude, it's like a limited series. It's 7 or 8 episodes. I've been up to like 2:30 or 3 in the morning, hooked, watching it. And not very many shows can do that to me, but 11/22/63, it's on Netflix. Very, very entertaining show. But Kimberly says, my grandpa said the Kennedy assassination was bullshit and there was only one man there recording it. And he said that's when people started to get the gist that the government is BS. Amen. That's where the rumor that the FBI and the CIA colluded to create the term conspiracy theorist was surrounding the JFK assassination. Because if we can't discredit what people are saying, if we can't discredit what Kimberly's saying, well, let's discredit Kimberly. Let's call her a conspiracy theorist. Let's make her illegitimate so that nobody listens to anything that they say. Coco Cash says, I'm going to say it again. Read the book called Chaos. Did Brandon give a... Oh, Brandon said, I'm reading The Stand, unabridged right now. No, it's a great show, Beck. It really is. It's called... Here, I'll type it into the chat so people can see it then. I'll put it up on screen. That's the title of it. Yeah, and if it is a little bit older, maybe it is older, but it was like recently added to Netflix, and I was on that section just kind of mindlessly scrolling, and I was like, oh shit, my sister talked about this. I liked it a lot. Well, and that's exactly what I thought too, creepily got. That's how invested into this case I am. I'm like thinking, I'm thinking through every numerology possibility of 1122 63. How does that line up with like 1122 King Road? I was not even embarrassed to admit it. My brain just, it works that way. Chris said, we know. Joey says Vegas is what opened my eyes to all this shit. What other good, is there any other good shows that are out right now? And I'm talking like, not like, you guys know the type of show that I would probably watch at this point if you've tuned in for a while. If anybody's got any suggestions. Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you. I was just trying to think of that. Obs. And its Route 66 documentary was one of Birdie and I's favorite docs. Obviously, it's not just for the content, but so well put together and exposed so many lies. That's about the Vegas shooting. That's on what's the brand of the, I don't know if is it a Fire Stick or if it's a Roku TV or whatever. What's the name of the app that you can download? And it's like the Rabbit Hole app, or it's there's some sort of app that's all like conspiracies you can get on like a Roku TV, or if you have a Fire Stick. Route 91? I can't remember it. No, not Tubi. Shoot. Somebody will remember. Anyways, Hive, I hope you all enjoyed this evening stream. I certainly did. And with that being said, I will be on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. I'll be on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central. I'm going to try to pre-record for Friday. If I don't, it'll most likely probably just be a Saturday premiere. Just know that I'm out of town. I'll try to still post clips and quick cuts and things like that over the weekend. I'm not going to have much access to my phone at all. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Go check out 11/22/63 on Netflix. It's awesome. That Fox Hollow documentary, if you haven't watched that, I would encourage people to watch that coming up, as there's going to be some of my clips in the next series for that show coming out, which is really exciting. I signed all the paperwork a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers, Hive.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life.